Hey everyone, it's Sekaar, and today I wanted to go over my MagDK build that I've been using for update 43. I genuinely love this build so much. I only played this build one day and I was already like, hey, I need to make a build video out of this because of how much I love it. I've done it in BGs, I've done it in open world PvP, so I know that for a fact that I love this build so much. So I hope that you guys enjoy. Real quick though, right before we get started, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you're subscribed. We are less than 300 subscribers away from hitting 10,000. So guys, if you guys could just do me that giant favor, make sure you're subscribed. That'd be awesome for me. All right, so without further ado, let's get on with the build. So we're going to be a Dark Elf on our MagDK. I really like Dark Elf overall for the passives. It gives you a bunch of extra weapon and spell damage, and it gives you some extra magic and stamina as well. So I just think that Dark Elf works really well for it. And also you get the flame damage resistance passives. So I just really like that overall. If you're not a Dark Elf, I think some other good races that you could possibly be would be Breton, Imperial, or Orc. I think that those are probably your best options overall. Our Mundus is going to be the warrior to increase our overall weapon damage. And yes, guys, I am still Vampire Stage 3. They changed the Undeath passive this past patch to, instead of 30% to 15%. And I tried it out and I still really like it. I still want to be Vampire Stage 3. I will still make sure to take that extra little bit of resistances where I can, and that extra little bit of damage mitigation where I can, because, guys, Cyrodiil is a cruel place where sometimes you are just getting absolutely obliterated and zerged down, and it is just, I will take any kind of extra damage mitigation for sure. Also, for our attributes, we're going to break them down with 32 points into magic and 32 points into health to give us a max magic pool of 22.3k, a max health pool of 31.4k, and a max stam pool of 17.4k. And then we're also going to be using Jewels of Misrule as our food. That's going to increase our overall max health while also oh my god, I can't speak. While also increasing our max stam recovery and our max magic recovery as well. And then also I'm using tripods as well for this build. So moving on to our actual gear, we're going to be using Bloodspawn as our monster set. That's no shock. I didn't really want to change the build up too much and really change it up to a point where it's unrecognizable. I still like Bloodspawn. Bloodspawn is still best in slot in my opinion on MagDK and DK in general. So what it does, for those of you guys that don't know, Bloodspawn is going to give you a line of stam recovery, and then when you take damage, you're going to have a 6% chance to generate 13 ultimate and increase your physical and spell resistance by 3,700 for 5 seconds. So I definitely recommend using this as a DK. It's going to help your overall sustain because a lot of your sustain is built around your ultimate as well. So we're going to be using a heavy reinforced helmet for Bloodspawn and medium impinged shoulders for Bloodspawn. And then we've got our brand new set. This is called Pyrebrand. This is a set that you get from Infinite Archive. I definitely recommend grinding this out. It took me about 4 to 5 hours overall to grind out the entire sticker book. So I definitely recommend doing it, guys. Please don't be like, hey, what else can I run instead? This is a really good set, and I definitely recommend trying this out. It takes a little bit of grinding. It's really not that bad. You have a friend do it with you, and it's really going to be a quick grind, and you're going to be done with it before you even know it. So, Pyrebrand, it's going to give you a line of offensive penetration and 2 lines of weapon and spell damage, which I really like. I like that all 3 of the first 3 lines are just damage things. And then your 5-piece, it's going to be interesting, and I'll break it down for you guys. So, your light attacks are going to deal 8,600 flame damage over 6 seconds, and that's going to be significantly increased. We don't even have our major brutality buff up. We don't have minor brutality on this build up. We can get that damage up a lot higher. So that's going to be over 6 seconds, which is a huge dot. That is great. And then your fully charged heavy attacks consume up to 3 of your damage over time effects to deal 4,500 flame damage in a 6-meter radius on the target, dealing up to 200% more damage to enemies below 33% health. And then also the damage scales off of your higher weapon and spell damage, and it is increased by 20% for each damage over time effect on the target, up to 60%. So I'm going to break it down for you guys, don't worry. So the first part with the light attacks, pretty self-explanatory. Every time you light attack somebody on this, it's going to reapply that dot, and it's definitely worth putting on them. That dot is massive, and it's a great way to increase your overall damage on them and really keep the pressure on your enemies. So the heavy attack part, Basically, that's got no cooldown whatsoever. So you can continue to heavy attack your enemies as often as you want to keep that damage up there. But I don't recommend that because that's going to consume your dots on your enemy. And that's going to kind of reduce your overall pressure and sustained pressure on your enemies. So I wouldn't do that. I would kind of more stick to hitting those heavy attacks when you see an opening, you see somebody getting ready to get executed. If you can get them when they're at low health, that's perfect, because up to 30, when they're below 33% less health, they're going to have that increased 200% damage, which is huge. That damage really stacks up. And also, the damage scales off your higher weapon or spell damage and is increased by 20% for each damage over time effect on the target, up to 60%. So I have 2 damage over time effects on this build. I used to have 3 because I have igneous weapon on this setup, and I was trying degeneration for a little bit. And I like the idea of having degeneration on here, but I found myself running out of magic more often since I was using that more often instead of just hitting igneous once and forgetting about it for basically a minute and a half. So basically, the best way to increase your overall damage on this build is I've got 2 sources of dot pressure, and that's going to be Burning Embers and Noxious. So it's going to consume those dots, and it won't have that, the dot won't be on your enemies any longer. But you'll have an extra little bit of burst potential. So if you have a 3-stack whip with a leap, you hit a heavy attack into leap whip, and you're going to hit very, very, very hard. It's a very satisfying and strong combo, and I definitely recommend trying it out for yourself. I've been really liking this setup, and I definitely recommend trying it out for yourself. I can't stress enough how good this has been for me. It's always, sorry, before I go on either further, I've checked my CMX, which is for you console gamers. It's basically, actually, I might have my CMX up from my BG up. Yeah, okay, so this is my last BG. I just got done recording today's BG video from my other channel. By the way, if you're not subscribed to the other BG channel, make sure you're subscribed. We got a little over 1,000 subscribers over there. That link will be in the description as well. So, as you could see, the Pyrebrand Dot was literally #1 in my entire BG as my damage. I died once there, so I didn't really cut my combat off too much. And this is for 4.5 minutes of combat. Pyrebrand is #1 on that list. It's actually, if that's #1, then it should do this one. Oh yeah, okay, so the previous 6 minutes as well, Flames of Oblivion was just over it, but Pyrebrand, you could see, was just under that. It's insane the amount of damage that it does. You can see it's always #1 consistent at the top of my damage. I definitely recommend doing that. Like, trust me guys, it's worth it, and it's worth it to check it out. So moving on, we're also going to be using medium Pyrebrand's hands in Impen. Our back bar is going to be a Rallying Cry Sash. It's going to be Light Divines, and that's going to be giving you a line of crit chance, max magic, crit chance, and while Battle Spirit is active, which means either in a duel, open world Cyrodiil, Battlegrounds, or Imperial City, critically healing yourself or an ally is going to cause you and up to 11 other group members within 12 meters of you to gain 300 weapon and spell damage, and 1650 crit resist for 20 seconds. And then the more people you have in your group, the lower that's going to be. I definitely recommend having this as your back bar set. You could use Trickery, but I feel like you get the most amount of damage and survivability out of Rallying Cry. That extra little bit of crit resist is huge, especially nowadays in Cyrodiil. With that Undeath passive getting a little bit nerfed, I feel like Rallying Cry is giving you some really extra, it's giving you some nice extra defenses, and I definitely recommend using this as your back bar setup. We're also going to be using heavy Legs of the Trainee in Reinforced. We have 1 extra slot on this build, and I wanted to put Trainee on here to get that max health up as high as possible. And then we also are using medium Pyrebrand boots in Impen. Our jewelry is going to be 2 Rallying Cry rings. Both are going to be infused with weapon and spell damage enchantments on it. And then our mythic is going to be Satan the Seducer. I love Satan the Seducer. This has been my go-to mythic since Gold Road dropped. I definitely recommend grinding this out. If you have Gold Road, guys, there's no excuse why you shouldn't have this. The leads on this, I'm pretty sure, are still bugged to this day, where it's a near 100% drop rate. So you can go and grind out Satan the Seducer if you have Gold Road, and have it dug up and scried after you are done with the first one within 40 minutes. I swear you can get it done within 40 minutes to an hour. It is not that hard. Please grind this out. We're going to be using it in Infused with increased weapon and spell damage enchantment on it. Satan the Seducer, what it does is while in combat, you're going to gain 1 of 5 random major buffs, which changes every 10 seconds. Enemies within 12 meters of you are going to gain 1 of 5 random minor debuffs, depending on which you have. The available effects are when you have Major Berserk, your enemies are going to have Minor Maim. When you have Major Resolve, your enemies are going to have Minor Breach. When you have Major Force, your enemies are going to have Minor Brittle. When you have Major Evasion, Minor Vulnerability, Major Courage, Minor Cowardice. So basically, it gives you a really good buff, and it gives your enemy a really solid debuff as well. And it's just a great way to combo your damage, and you're hitting extra hard with that. I can't recommend it highly enough, especially if you combo that with a Corrosive or something. You're going to be absolutely dealing so much damage if you time it right. Looking at our front bar, we're going to be using a Pyrebrand Nirnhoned Mace with a shock damage enchantment on it. In our other hand is going to be a Pyrebrand Mace with the charged trait on it with a physical damage restore on it. I can't even speak today, guys. And then our back bar is going to be Rallying Cry Ice Staff, defending with an increased weapon and spell damage enchantment on it. So let's look at our champion points next. Our blue slottables are going to be Ironclad. I'm putting 1 defensive slot back into our blue tree due to the Undeath nerf. Reduces the damage taken from direct damage attacks. I definitely recommend using this. If you're not going to use this, you're going to be a little bit more squishy. And overall, you're a lot more squishy with that Undeath passive being nerfed. Please, trust me, use this. Wrathful Strikes, Deadly Aim, and Untamed Aggression. Red slottables, Survival Instincts, Pain's Refuge, Sustained by Suffering, and Fortified. Green tree, what we really care about is Breakfall, Rationer, and Liquid Efficiency. So looking at our skills, our main source of damage is going to be Molten Whip. You're going to be hitting big Molten Whips on this build, especially if you time it right. Basically, what you want to do with the Molten Whip is you want to time it with your other Ardent Flame abilities. So while you use a different Ardent Flame ability while in combat, you're going to gain a stack of Seething Fury, increasing you the damage of your next Molten Whip by 20%, and it's going to increase your weapon and spell damage by 100 for 15 seconds, and that can stack up to 3 times. So you've got literally 3 other Ardent Flame abilities on your bar. Boom, boom, boom. You hit all of those back to back to back. You've got a 3-stack Molten Whip ready to go, and you're going to hit a lot harder. So make sure you kind of head that Molten Whip on a 3-stack when you're ready to get your burst combo in there, and you're going to be doing wonders for your damage. Also, we're using Shattering Rocks. This is going to be your CC on this build, so this is going to stun your enemies, and you're also going to get a little bit of a heal afterwards as well. So both are really nice. Also, we've got Flames of Oblivion. This is going to be a great source of sustained damage to apply to your enemies every 5 seconds. And on top of that, while slotted on either bar, you're going to gain Major Prophecy and Savagery, increasing your spell and weapon crit by 2,600. Also, Burning Embers. I used to have Talons on this slot, but I like using Burning Embers nowadays. When I've been getting Zerg down, I've been hitting Burning Embers on like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 people, and that heal has been really nice, honestly. It's actually been really nice when I'm getting Zerg down, and if they don't purge it off, it's really nice. So, slash an enemy with Flame, dealing 4,400 flame damage, and an additional 19,400 flame damage over 24 seconds, and you're going to heal for 122% of the damage done with this ability. So that's awesome for your overall damage and healing as well, and that's another dot to add to your Pyrebrand as well. Also, I'm using Noxious Breath. This is going to be a great source of AoE pressure, and it's another dot to put on your enemies. But what's really important about this is it's going to afflict your enemies with Major Breach, so it's going to reduce their physical and spell resistance by 6k. Also, I'm using Take Flight. This is the cheaper morph with more damage, and I just like this one. It does more damage, and that's why I like it. Back bar, we're looking at Igneous Weapon. This is going to be your source of Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20% for 1.2 minutes. Also, Race Against Time. This is going to be your source of Major Expedition and Minor Force, so it's going to increase your movement speed by 30% and increase your critical damage by 10%. So don't sleep on that critical damage. Make sure Race Against Time is active at all times. Also, this is going to be your snare removal, so activating this ability is going to remove all snares and immobilizations from you and grant you immunity to them for 4 seconds. So if you're getting stuck in place, you hit this, boom, you're running. This is going to be Resolving Vigor. This is going to be a nice 5-second heal over time to help you get right back up to full health. And after casting, you're going to get Minor Resolve, so it's going to increase your physical and spell resistance by 3k for 20 seconds. You guys notice how I have a hard time saying resistances on when I'm doing these videos? Anyways, I notice it. So the next ability is going to be Healing Soul, so this is going to be our scribing ability. I replaced Coag with this because this is a great way to heal yourself or your allies as well. And as a DK, I always felt very selfish because I wasn't able to heal my enemies. Or I might not heal my enemies. What am I saying? Heal my allies. If I'm watching my ally getting zerged down on the DK before this ability, I was like, all right, well, good luck, dude. But this is going to be a nice burst heal for you. It's going to heal you for a 12.5k, and that's going to get even higher when your weapon and spell damage is higher. And then also it's going to restore 600 magic and stam to you as well, so it helps your sustain slightly as well. It's a very expensive ability, but it helps you with that overall as well. And it grants you major vitality for 10 seconds, increasing your healing received and your damage shield strength by 12% as well. So that is massive. The way to combo this ability is so nice. If you hit this, you're gonna hit really fat Resolving Vigors as well. And then I've been using Hardened Armor because I like the shield that you get from this. This is going to be your source of major resolve, so it's going to increase your physical and spell resistance by 6k for 20 seconds. And then you're also going to get a little bit of a damage shield as well, which I definitely recommend using. I know you can use the other morph and it'll be another source of dot pressure upon your enemies to consume for your Pyrobrand, but overall I really think that Hardened Armor is the way to go because that shield really helps you when you don't expect it, and I really do like it a lot. And then I've been using Corrosive Armor again because I've just been liking to hit really hard. I use this ability and I hit a 3-stack whip on somebody, and it's gonna chunk most of their health bar, and I really like it overall. It's going to ignore your enemy's physical and spell resistance, so you're just gonna be going right through it, and you're just gonna be going right through their shields basically. And then on top of that, you're going to be limiting your incoming damage to 3% of your max health, so you're gonna be really tanky as well, and I can't stress how much I like this ability. And that's really the entire build, guys. I hope that you enjoy. I can't stress enough how much I've been really liking this build. It's been a lot of fun. I definitely recommend trying it out for yourself, and I recommend grinding out these sets and grinding out this mythic. It's a lot of fun, and the patch just started, so I don't want to hear right now. I don't want to hear you guys be like, well, I don't want to grind it because what if it gets nerfed? Well, it won't get nerfed for a few months if it does. So we can enjoy it while it lasts, and I think that's the great part about life, is that we enjoy things for little bits of time while we can. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're still watching this video at this point in time, if you could like the video, that'd be awesome. And if you want to comment anything, let me know how you like the build. I would appreciate that too. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Later.